welcome, and today let's take a look at training, and let's specifically focus on initial training for your staff. To start off with, I'm going to focus primarily on what I consider is important in the hospitality or restaurant industry, but this can apply to any scenario, any situation there might be. So I made a list of kind of some things that are very important to kind of keep in mind when you are creating a training program. So when you're creating a training program, I think it's very important that you make it position specific. So make sure you're not overwhelming the employee with too much information that they are not going to be able to absorb and not be able to use. Now, this does not mean that they shouldn't know what the other staff members are doing. For example, if you're making a training manual for a busser or a server assistant, they should know what their server or their captain is doing, or vice versa. They should be aware of what each person's responsibilities are and how they work. But I think it is more so important that they truly understand what their fundamental tasks are going to be and be able to perform them without thinking twice. So make sure that you have training manuals specifically tailored for each position. You also want to make sure that you have a training schedule as well. I generally say 5-day training schedule for most positions, and you will gradually kind of introduce them to different concepts, and you want to have a checklist at the end of that each day so that whoever is training them can make sure that they're covering all bases and they're not doubling up or missing something that's very vital. I sometimes like to assign specific trainers amongst my team. I'll pull them aside. Hey, would you be interested in being my trainer for anybody who might come on board in your position? I'll work out some kind of incentive for them. For example, they get a bottle of wine for every staff member they train, or a free meal, or maybe a higher pay rate. I might not use the tip credit on them while they're training. Different things like that to try to give them an incentive to do it as well. Even though in the end it's doing themselves a benefit by making sure that they're training people who can pull their own weight. But it's nice to give them a little incentive there as well. Now, you really want to make sure that you're as thorough as possible and give them all the information that they really need up front. Nothing is harder than thinking you're doing something right because you weren't trained on it. So you go in there and do as you were taught at your other job, and then you get yelled at. That's never a good feeling. So you want to make sure that you're providing with all the tools and skills they need up front so that they can succeed. That is your job as service director or a manager when you're creating these training programs. Another kind of important one is when you're planning that schedule, to make sure that you give them an opportunity to see what other positions are doing so they can understand it. So let's say my training program for a server or a captain will include the first day, when they come in after interview, is simply a trail to see if they would like to join the company. The next time they come in, if we both decide that we would like to follow through with this, that is where we decide that their training is going to start. So on day one, they'll spend 1 hour with a busser, 1 hour with a runner. Then the rest of the night they will spend with the server, learning the kind of basics of being a server. Kind of the table numbers, position numbers, question to ask, how to greet a table, different kind of policies such as that. So I think that is very important that you have a segment in that where they can kind of see what the other positions are doing. You have to remember, especially in a higher position like a captain, where they're going to be leading a team, is very important that they understand what the busser or runner has to do and be able to perform those tasks as well. Now, I also think it's important that you have that checklist for the trainer to follow along, a daily task list. So day one, they're going to learn how to change the tablecloths, pour water, greet tables, present the menu, table numbers, seat numbers. And then day two, they're going to learn about the food. They're going to learn about the wine menu. They're going to learn about the coursing, fire times, markings, so have it kind of laid out like that with a checklist for the trainee to check off what they have done. If they missed anything, they should mark that off so that we can make sure that the next person training them, it covers that topic. They should sign their name there. And then at the end of the day, I like to check in with them as well. So not just leaving it up to the trainee, or sorry, the trainer, but check in with them as well. Ask them how they felt. Pass on my observations on how I thought they did on the floor. I really liked your posture in the dining room, your movements through the dining room, making sure you were not obstructing service, interaction with the guests, pulling chairs for guests, anything that they might have done positively, as well as letting them know what things that they can improve on. Checking in with them to see if they have any questions or concerns, areas that they felt like any issues that they might run into, so we can address them as early as possible and get them up to speed. Now, the very last one is make sure that you test them. A lot of people have told me it doesn't make sense because then they're just going to be studying for the test. But end of the day, they need to know the menu. They need to know allergies. They need to know what's on the wine list before they go live. So my general rule of thumb is they are given a very short test that is usually a verbal test with myself, just to ensure they have a basic knowledge. Then they will be put on kind of a reverse shadow. So I will have a senior member following them for 1 day, make sure they're doing their part. Then they're on probationary period for a certain period of time before they get a full point or full cut. At that point, once I feel that they are able to pull their own weight, I will give them a written test to ensure that they are up to the point where I expect the rest of the staff to be. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If I missed anything there, or you feel differently about something that's really worked well for you, or if something you've had a challenge with, let me know down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow the link at the end of the video if you would like to see my video on follow-up training. Thank you again, and I'll catch you later.